Joining me now from Washington, D.C., Representative Lori Chavez-DeRemer. Thanks for coming on Your Voice, Your Vote.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
We are recording this interview on Thursday. By the time this interview airs, there could be a shutdown of the federal government. We at least came dangerously close. As you know, up to 4 million workers could lose their pay if there's a government shutdown. About half of those workers are in the military. How did Congress get to this point?
Well, I can tell you this. We have been working hard since I've been here for 9 months. I can't tell you, though, how frustrated I am. And I'm hearing it from people back home who are just concerned with the uncertainty. But I think with the Biden administration, the Senate, and the House, we have to recognize we have to come to an agreement. I've instructed my office that everything that we do to this point is going to be to avoid a shutdown. We are here to work for Oregonians and to try to alleviate the frustration and let them know that we're working for them. I spend most of my days working on things that will benefit Oregonians, and this is not going to benefit really any American if this government shuts down.
Military spouses say Congress is playing politics with their lives. What do you say to them?
Gosh, can you imagine, again, the uncertainty that you must feel not knowing exactly what's going to happen? And it's our job to be able to come on here, which is why we want to do these stories and let people know. One of the things I'm working on is to make sure that we're fully funding, our Border Patrol agents, that we're making sure that we can put a stopgap to exactly this uncertainty and make sure that they know that the hard work that they're doing every single day is paid for and rewarded. Nobody expects to work for free. I certainly can't imagine that. So while if there's an issue with holding up their wages, I can tell you this, I'm holding up mine as well.
What's the big stumbling block that's preventing a funding agreement to avoid a shutdown?
Well, I can tell you there has been parts of either the Republican conference, certainly the Biden administration, and coming together. For far too long, we kicked the can down the road, and now we're up against the clock. We're working hard on funding these 12 appropriations bills. When I came into Congress, one of the things that the Republican conference decided to do was make sure that we were having these discussions in front of the American people. So rather than wait till the last minute and do an omnibus, a full funding package for all 12 appropriations, we wanted to make sure that we heard every single one in regular order that went to committee and now on the House floor. And what you're seeing is the discussion about what can we come to? What kind of agreement can we come to for the American people? It's messy. It takes longer. We certainly have all the open amendments on the House floor, but we want to get to an agreement where it's best, and bipartisan is where we're going to come with that, I believe. I'm looking to our conference to get something done before tomorrow. But until then, we have a backup plan in place because I think that that's what people expect. So I know that I have said this once before to Oregonians. I'm on the Problem Solvers Caucus for this reason, to do bipartisan legislation to make sure that we can certainly come to some sort of middle and some sort of agreement. And this particular act, the Bipartisan Keep America Open Act, I'm a co-sponsor of. I want everybody to understand what that says. It will fund the government through January 11th, giving us more time to pass these 12 appropriation bills at the level agreed upon by the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act. It will also cut $2.1 trillion. Because what I'm hearing from my constituents is they want us to cut spending. We are in a real deficit, $33 trillion. But at the same time, they want us to do the work and keep the government open. It will address the crisis at the southern border, which we are seeing every single day on the news. We are having up to 10,000 crossings a day. It will provide the funding disaster relief that people have asked for, and it will include critical programs like temporary assistance for needy families and community health centers. So this bipartisan bill, again, we had another meeting today, and we'll move forward with these talks as we get into tomorrow night.
Members of your party do not want to continue these stopgap measures. Do you agree with the strategy of ultra-conservatives in the Republican caucus who are demanding deeper spending cuts and tougher border security before they'll approve any measure to keep the federal government open?
Well, certainly as it relates to certain bills, like for instance, the agriculture, I'm on the ag committee. This is very important that we get the farm bill done. It's reauthorized every 5 years. This is a matter of national security. It's a matter of food security. It's a matter of our farmers and ranchers being whole. This is something, again, that's bipartisan in committee. The cuts that we are seeing come across on the ag committee that are somewhat being proposed by members of my conference, I cannot stand by. Those cuts are way too deep. They will affect Oregonians, and I will have to break from my party on that issue. But again, when you look at several of us Republicans on there, we want to get things done. And so we will need to move this farm bill through. But with the cuts that we're seeing on the appropriations, it's something that I cannot get behind at this point. But again, we have to come to the middle. And anytime you hear something come out of someone's mouth that says, will not, cannot, will never move on it, I don't think that's good governance. When I was mayor, as a mom, as a business owner, and now as a congresswoman, you always have to be at the table, and you always have to be willing to negotiate and have conversations that benefit the American people.
As of Thursday, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is pushing for new border restrictions before there can be a deal. If there's a government shutdown, more than 20,000 patrol agents may not get a paycheck. Do you support the Speaker's stance on this?
Well, I can tell you this, what I won't stand for is making sure that our Border Patrol agents are paid. I have a bill that we are introducing because I want to be a part of that solution. We cannot expect our Border Patrol agents and their families who are working hard for the American people to secure our border, keep us safe, and work without a paycheck. It's untenable to even think about that. The border security issue is not a Republican issue, and it's not a Democratic issue. This is an American issue, and we are deeply concerned about what this means for national security. We cannot continue to have 10,000 migrant crossings a day and have no idea what's happening on that southern border. And I think that this will be part of any agreement moving forward. So I'm looking to work with my colleagues, not only within my conference, but within the entire Congress, bipartisan, to get this done. And we're seeing it in blue states, red states, even our Democratic governors from New York, our Democratic mayors from New York, Democratic governors from Texas, mayors from El Paso who are Democrats, saying enough's enough. We need help, and we need the administration to step up and start to put a focus on the southern border and secure it. This should be included in the bill, and I think that's a big issue, but I'll do everything I can to come to the table and get to a solution to keep this government open.
Do you support how House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is handling this situation?
Well, certainly being the speaker is a big job. I can tell you this, when you have 435 members of Congress who are representing approximately 770,000 residents in their district, as we should, we're fighting for our districts individually. Within our own conference, we have different spectrum of the conference. I will never disparage my colleagues, but I do not understand why maybe 5 can hold up what 220 of us think is a good idea, and oftentimes more than 350. We saw it on the House floor last night. We saw amendments go down with 350 bipartisan votes. That's important to pay attention to. So the job is not easy. It certainly oftentimes can be frustrating, but I think he is handling his own. But we all have a voice to protect our constituents, and I'm going to do my best to protect Oregonians in the 5th District.
Do you think it's gotten to this point because the Speaker is trying to keep his job?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, nothing's sacred here that you can protect your job at all costs. I think every day you get up and you think, I'm going to do better for this country. I think that that's what the Speaker's doing. I think that's what I'm doing. Again, most people come here, and that's been the goodness of this job, is recognizing, again, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, you're fighting for your constituents. While some may want to take it on their own and decide that they would rather be on TV, that's not the position I'm coming from. That's not the position that I see leadership is coming from. Our leadership is trying to keep this conference together and say, we have to do better for the American people. That's addressing the border, making sure that national security is at stake, making sure the Biden administration addresses what's happening at the southern border, and making sure that we keep this government open. People are expecting to see us do the good work and show up every day and get things done for them. I wouldn't expect anything less from my representative, and that's what I'm going to do for the people of Oregon.
What would you like to say to the hardline conservatives who are making these demands and in many ways holding this process up?
Well, it's certainly not what I would like to say. It's what I have said. I see these members of my conference on the House floor. Some of them I share committees with, and I express, why is it different in your district than in my district? And I try to share the stories of Oregonians of why it's different and what they need. We have National Guard that we have to protect. We want to make sure that people are able to travel on the TSA. We want to make sure that people are getting their benefits. And again, when we're talking about discretionary income versus mandatory, what we know is that the mandatory will be protected. It's the discretionary that we're discussing here. So I let them know that every day. I don't wait till a shutdown is looming. I let them know within my committees what's important to Oregonians: homelessness, fentanyl, people are hurting with the economy, gas prices are up by the policies that have been put in place by this administration and also in Oregon. So I'm going to be that extension to work with my colleagues and get things done. So it isn't waiting till the last minute about what I would say. It is what I say every single day. Oregonians matter, and I want you to understand where I'm coming from as well.
Changing topics, we are hearing more about fentanyl overdoses in babies and children here in Portland. In fact, Portland police report 9 suspected fentanyl overdoses in children between the ages of 1 and 15 years old. Are you working on any legislation when it comes to the fentanyl crisis taking place in Oregon and across the country?
Absolutely. We talked about it on the campaign trail. Gosh, a little over a year ago, we talk about it every single day. I've introduced 2 bills, the Halt Fentanyl Act, and one other, can't remember the title. I'm so sorry about that because they become so cumbersome with the titles, but what's in them is what matters. We have to make sure that we're protecting the people on the streets, especially our youth. Can you imagine, as a mom and dad, wondering every single day if your child or young child is going to even touch a fentanyl pill that is so minute that they don't even know that it's going to kill them? We have to hold the drug cartels accountable. We have to make sure that we're protecting, again, that border and understanding what's coming in. We had the largest drug bust in Oregon's history in my district over a year ago that would have killed the entire state of Oregon. And that's happening now across the country. So I work with my colleagues every single day to address this. Also, addressing the homelessness. I've introduced a bill, the Direct Care Act, making sure that we're addressing mental health crisis, drug addiction, overdoses as well as the housing and homelessness crisis. So we've introduced that. We're hoping to push that through so that we can get direct street medicine to the people living on the streets of Oregon who are dealing with really a 3-pronged issues: homelessness, mental illness, and drug addiction. So we're hoping those move through. Again, bipartisan, working with my colleagues to get things done.
What more can be done at the federal level to help states in this battle against fentanyl?
Well, certainly addressing the border. I sit on the drug cartel task force, has been assigned by leadership to work with colleagues in my conference to understand what is exactly happening. Now, what we know is that the chemicals that are being produced are being sold from China to Mexico. In Mexico, they are being put together as the fentanyl drug and come into this country that are being not only trafficked through our young men and women. We know that they're searching out young students through social media to be the traffickers of this drug. And that's a crisis. So we have to make sure that we hold them accountable, the drug cartels. So that's what this task force will be looking at. And then we need to make sure that we, for instance, a Measure 110, decriminalization of hard drugs, not having these open air markets on the streets of Oregon that is a willing partner in accepting drugs, and then having more people with drug addiction and homelessness. So it's really a vicious cycle. We have to address it at all costs, but at the federal level, I'll keep introducing these fentanyl acts. One of the other things that we did with Congresswoman Bonamici certainly was move forward with education for our students. So I co-sponsored a bill with her. It's models after a Beaverton School District education program that teaches parents, what do the pills look like? What does it look like if your kids are doing drugs? And we're trying to access that through the school so that the kids get most of the information that they need. That could be the death with one pill.
What else would you like to let your constituents in the 5th District of Oregon know that you're working on?
Well, again, this is one of the most important times in history. We've been through shutdowns before in this country. They never work out well. I don't care what district you're representing, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. This is not good for the American people. It's not good for Oregonians. It will cost more in the long run if we shut down. Now, have the conversations produce more conversations? Sure. But a shutdown is not where we should be. I wish we were not at this moment in time, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep working with my colleagues. I'm going to keep working with the problem solvers. We have until this weekend, and you're not going to see us do anything else but keep at it because we have to get this done.
U.S. Representative Lori Chavez-DeRemer, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it.